November 24th, 1994.
Tonight, a primetime investigation.
Debbie's death was a result of drinking this herbal tea.
Can some dietary supplements be dangerous? Our hidden cameras show an unregulated industry making outrageous claims.
Very, very potent immunostimulant.
Yeah, they say it'll cure cancer.
And just because dietary supplements are natural, it doesn't mean they're safe. What you don't know may be deadly.
The consumer is playing Russian roulette when they walk into a health food store.
I kept telling people I was funny and nobody believed me. I tell people that I was a comedian, people were like, sure you are. Go make us some coffee.
Instead, she got one of the biggest comedy hits on television. Tonight, Ellen DeGeneres takes Judd Rose back home to the Big Easy.
It is not easy being a woman doing comedy in clubs in this country compared to being a man.
How would you know that? That's what I want to know.
A glimpse at the secret life of a comedy star.
You think these people are going to be photographed?
What happens when dozens of photojournalists are let loose with their lenses?
This is the first day of shooting with them. They're still being a little on guard. They are giving me the semblance of their happy little family.
A portrait of small-town America, as captured in the camera.
And a special holiday treat.
From ABC News, with anchors Diane Sawyer in New York, Sam Donaldson in Washington, Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace, Judd Rose, Sylvia Chase, John Quinones, Renee Poussaint, and Jay Shadler. This is Prime Time.
Every once in a while you see a photograph that does so much more than capture a moment. It tells a whole story. Like the evocative photograph of a migrant mother and her children during the Depression. And of course, the famous kiss on VJ Day in Times Square. But taking a picture like that requires skill, the kind of skill that has been nurtured for years in a unique program sponsored by the University of Missouri. Correspondent Jay Shadler went to America, a small town, to watch a group of photojournalists come together and fine-tune their eyes and their lenses to make the picture perfect.
It's Friday night in Washington, Missouri. That means high school football, marching bands, and a hometown crowd that's happy to cheer even though their Blue Jays are losing. Tomorrow, there'll be more bands and a parade down Main Street. Doug Holtmeyer and Tina Kleindies will be married at the Catholic Church. And in this town of 12,000, on the tracks between St. Louis and Kansas City, a lot of folks will simply spend the day on the Missouri River that runs along the northern edge of town. It's picture perfect, which is fitting because Washington is about to have its picture taken 10,000 times.
First one is Tom and Keith's Barbershop, the oldest barbershop in town, been a barbershop for 100 years.
It seems to me the man is Washington.
She's also raised 2 kids by herself because her husband died. Every town has somebody like Jack, and every town needs somebody like Jack. He just happens to have 40 cats.
4 dozen professional photographers from all over the world have come here to sharpen their skills with a camera and find a slice of small-town America. It's called the Missouri Photo Workshop, and it's been going on annually since 1949. Each year, a different small town and a new collection of black and white memories.
What do you think are going to be the greatest difficulties in doing this story?
You think these people are going to be photographed?
You can shoot this and that and that and that and get done and just have a bunch of pictures, a bunch of nice pictures, but it doesn't take you anywhere.
The rules are simple. Each photojournalist is given 11 rolls of film and 5 days. The first 2 to find a subject.
How many years have you lived here?
I've lived here all my life.
Wow.
I was born and raised here.
And the next 3 days to develop a story in pictures.
I hope I can capture emotion and, get those kind of Life magazine pictures that make you go.
Cathy Seith's first story about a grieving widower fell through.
Do you have a backup story?
I have some ideas.
And the veteran photographers judging the workshop urged her to find another subject quick. She returned to an idea she'd had about an unwed teenage couple.
I'm knocking on this girl's door, and she doesn't know who I am. I'm like, hi, I'm from out of town. I heard you guys had a baby. I wanted to come talk to you. And she said, well, can you come back later? I'm kind of busy. And I said, well, no, I can't really. Do you have time to give me 5 minutes?
Jason Carter, Carmela Obenauer, and their 8-month-old baby Adrian would end up giving Cathy 5 days and an unforgettable part of their lives.
This is the first day of shooting with them. They're still being a little on guard. They are giving me the semblance of their happy little family. He drops her off at work at Walmart. She works in the pet department, and he stays home and takes care of the baby. They really both love that baby, and they have good intentions, but they've got a lot of the odds against them, I think.
One of the major things about photography is you got to find something that you're concerned about, that your heart burns for, and you have desire and passion for. And for me, it's black issues in America.
Unlike Cathy, photographer Eric Seals came to Washington with a plan, but he would leave with a revelation. Eric imagined that Washington, which is 99% white, would provide a perfect portrait of black isolation. Where better to begin than in the only black church in town?
And this woman, Dorothy, she's lived here all of her life, and I believe she's in her mid-70s. Mind if I ask your age, ma'am?
I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right, that's fine. What I want to do is show the relationship between Dorothy and the way that she grew up in this white town and how it's affected her. Dorothy's pretty lonely in this town. Her only friends are at the black church, and she plays bingo every Tuesday night at the VFW hall with her white friends.
Eric was convinced that his story was of a black maid alone in an all-white town. But when his first pictures came back, the judges saw something different.
This woman in these pictures is real personally rich, very strong, doesn't have to have other people around. So is she even necessarily lonely? I mean, I don't think you've really got this all sorted out yet.
Okay.
She may not be doing anything. She may not going at nothing. Suddenly, on her face, you see all the things that you've, known
when she
about.
Smiles.
Yeah, when she smiles.
When she smiles,
and
yeah.
boom, suddenly that little moment pulls all that together and says the very thing that you want to say.
Some of the people that they are portraying, a lot of us really don't know. We don't dig that deeply into their lives.
Bill Miller has lived in this town since 1937, when his family bought the local newspaper. This week, the photo workshop was front-page news. But were these out-of-town journalists getting the story?
You've got 48 photographers out there, and they missed some things, some very obvious things.
What would you have gone after?
Well, I think if I went into a town like this, I would have been drawn, first of all, to the river, because that's where Washington began.
That's why Washington is here, is because it literally was on the highway that developed North America, the rivers.
Gary Lucy is a local artist and river historian. His own portrait of Washington is of a place we all might find familiar, if only in our imaginations.
I guess I'm a bit prejudiced, but I'd like to think that's where the life of America is in the small towns. Small towns are conservative. The people there work. They work very hard. They're generally a very religious group. They're people that care about their families.
Sounds like you're painting a Norman Rockwell sketch here of small town America.
Well, I'm painting a sketch of Washington, Missouri.
Without the small cities, I mean just large cities, America won't survive. You got to have the smaller cities to stabilize the damn thing.
On Tuesday night, while most of the photographers were busy with their stories, we paid a visit to the VFW hall.
People out here care about each other. You know, the man says, we noticed you moved your tomato stakes. We noticed your fence fell down. He cares. He wouldn't have said that if he didn't care. And that's important. And that's why it's important for cities of this size to survive.
What do you think of Washington, Missouri?
This is a small town, a lot like the barrios in the Philippines.
Really?
A small town in Missouri, it's a lot, the warmth of the people. I mean, they wave at you, they feed you. Hospitality, it's there, the hometown feel. I think it's universal.
Filipino photographer Juanito Holandes and Polish journalist Piotr Janowski are among the handful of foreign photographers at this year's workshop.
In Poland, when somebody comes, a stranger comes to the town, the people are very, very suspicious. You know, they look at him and they don't know what he really wants. And here, I mean, I've seen that many times. People just, you know, I walked by a guy I didn't know and he said, "Hi, how are you?" You know.
Piotr chose to follow two brothers who run one of Washington's oldest family farms.
They understand each other very well. Everyone knows what to do, you know. It's like a very good team. And then they go fishing in the night because they eat it.
There he went. There he goes.
They call it gigging. They have those spears that they use for killing the fish. And they have those lights that they light up the river.
I never seen so many shad or so many carp in the Burbus in all my life. I guess that flood brought them in.
And it really goes fast. I mean, 15 fish in about half an hour they come. And then they have dinner.
Back in town, Juanito had found 72-year-old Anna Piazza. Indigent and mentally handicapped, Anna might have been forgotten in a big city. But in this far smaller universe, she's a star. Babysitting, socializing, shining.
She's getting ready for a date with T-Bone, who's a 76-year-old man who's also mentally challenged.
They're going to have a date?
Tonight at Hardee's. So we'll walk there and get some fries and burgers, and I'll try to be out of the way and let them do their stuff. I think there's a revelation waiting in for Anna, a revelation that she's a part of us. She's a part of this community.
By the third day of the workshop, 48 very different images of Washington were emerging. But it was Cathy Seith's portrait of an unwed couple that had the town talking.
One of the strong stories, picture stories, that has come out of this so far is about an unwed couple living together and their problems and so on like that. I didn't know that couple existed here, and I don't have blinders on it. But I don't think that's typical of Washington. Not at all.
The third day, I asked them if I could sleep on their couch, and they said okay, and that was last night. This morning we woke up, and they were fighting. I wanted to butt in and say, "Stop it, don't say those things to each other." But it's not my business, it's not my place to stop what's happening. I just kind of sat on the floor in the corner and took pictures and let them go through their thing, which I think is something they go through every day. How does it feel to be a dad when the rest of your friends are just being kids? What's it like for you?
Well, it's just missing out. That's what it's like for me, but I know I ain't missing out on much.
Do you think you're going to be around when he's older?
Oh yeah, I'll be around. I think I will be.
If Jason sounded less than certain, it's because he had a confession to make to Carmela, and Cathy's camera was there.
He had to confess to her that the police had been in their home searching the place for drugs. And she went from going, "What's this?" innocently to, "These people were in our house," to, I think, real anger at him and fright for the baby. Finally, we all went down to the police station. They went in and talked to the detective. She said, "Why were you people in my house?" And he just said, "Why don't you ask him? He knows what's going on."
You've really stumbled on a very painful story in this small town.
Well, maybe a small town, but the same things go on everywhere. This story can be in New York and in Kansas. It's in Washington.
With Thursday's story deadline now approaching, the photographers gathered their final images of Washington. Eric snapped Dorothy watching TV. Piotr caught one of his farmers bringing in the herd. Juanito found Anna babysitting at the park. And over at the 2nd Street apartment of Jason and Carmela, Cathy was getting ready to take her last pictures.
There's 4 shots left, and there's 16 minutes till deadline. I'm going to hang out another 2 hours, just in case anything happens. This will be the end. Okay, ready?
3 hours after this picture was taken, the story took a final twist.
I heard her yell, and I ran out, and he was being arrested. She was running towards me saying, "Cathy," and I hugged her, but I said, "I have to take your picture, too." Allegedly, the police have proof that he was dealing drugs out of the home. I don't think she knew much about it. He got fingerprinted. and they took his possessions and put him into the prisoner envelope. I think he was really scared and worried. So then they took his mugshot and they locked him up.
And so it was Friday again. This evening there would be another football game. The 46th annual photo workshop had wrapped up the night before with a group picture and a special edition of the Washington Missourian, a gallery of photos as a snapshot of a town. All the stories in black and white, including one small item on page 10.
Jason Carter, the father, has been released from jail until his court date in mid-December. Carmela Obenauer, the mother, is now working 2 jobs to support her baby. And Anna Piazza, the town's star babysitter, is with her brother and his wife in St. Louis for Thanksgiving, a visit she makes every year.